Welcome back. We've been a little busy here lately cleaning the axle housing here. As you can see, we've installed it onto the main case. We made a gasket and bolted it together onto the main case. Kind of boring work, so we just went ahead and did it to make the video flow a little better. Underneath where the drawbar bolts onto the tractor, it bolts on, was 4 bolts right in here. And I don't know if you can see it, but you see that bunch of brass right there? There was a big chunk out of the case here, and I had to braze it up. Also, there was bolts that were broke off that hold the drawbar onto the bottom of this case, and they were they were broke off, and they not even broke off flush. They were like down in the hole, like some of them were what, half an inch or so? Yeah. So we got them on the milling machine, put this on the milling machine, and drilled down into those bolts on most of them and got them out that way. We had several bolts that were broke off into, for the implements here. They had put a very, very hard bolt in there to fix the problem at one time, because they broke a bolt off up into the hole that was probably, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch long. And then they decided, instead of getting that bolt out, to just put a hardened bolt in there for what threads were left, and then broke it off. And a drill bit wouldn't touch it, so we had to weld a nut onto that, and it broke off about a ½ inch down in the hole. So had to weld on that one, get it out of there, and then I found another bolt broke off into the housing. So it's been a lot of fun dealing with that. I don't put any videos out of my brazing and welding abilities, because I do it good enough for me. I don't know if they do it for a professional job, so I won't say, here, this is how you do it, because, well, I'm not a professional at anything. So, but we're trying, aren't we, Paul?
Yes.
We're going to try to get the seals in and get the bull gears and the axles in this, so we can get it partially off this cart, because, well, I don't know how much my cart can hold, but I'd say we've probably pretty much maxed it out, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So we're going to start. First, we're going to put the seals in, and then we'll prep the axle with the bearing and the retainer on it, and then we'll put them into the axle housing. So we'll get started with that. Now, this is the seal for the axle, and it just goes right into this recess right here. The first thing that goes into the bore is this washer. This washer's entire existence is so when you put this axle, the big axle, into the tube, it kind of protects the seal from getting tore up as it goes into the housing. So this is our first thing we put in. The second thing I did a little dab of silicone. You don't have to put a bunch in there. And I put it in the bore and keep it from leaking, hopefully, in the future. If you look at the seal, you can see there's this side is the side that basically the seal is connected to. A little silicone on my finger. That the seal is connected to the metal part, and then here's what they call the lip of the seal here. It's kind of springy. You want this to go towards the grease, not like this. So the idea is that any oil that builds up here will go down in this, it'll get slung out. and it won't, like if it's like this way, it could actually pass on through, supposedly. I don't know. But I was always told to put them in this way, put the lip towards the oil. So we're putting the lip towards the oil, kind of get it started here. We're going to drive that seal in with this big socket here. It's a 2 7/16. And I got some extensions that go through this axle housing here. And Paul's going to whap it with a nice big dead blow hammer so it doesn't, you know, tear up my extension. We'll hook it onto this socket, and then I'll kind of help drive it into the housing. All right, put the okay, push on it hard, hit it. Okay, whoa. Okay, now lift that up into the middle. There you go. Now whap it.
A few moments later.
Hit it hard. Okay, let's look at it. Well, you're getting there. Okay, hit it.
1 hour later.
Alright, let's check it. That sounds more like it. Alright, looks like we got the seal drove in there nice and square. And it seated the washer. So we'll put some grease on that lip to give it a chance not to burn up. So we'll be back to do that.
We're going to put grease on this seal.
A little dab will do you. So you just put this grease on this rubber portion here, and you notice there's kind of like two seals, and there's like the main one and there's one behind. I like to kind of pack that little void right there with grease. Some seals come with grease on them and some don't. But back in my days working at a dealership, you know, you get paid by the job, not by the hour. And I remember very well, I had a big old Dana 80 and a F, I think 450, and I didn't grease the axle seals when I put them in, and I had to do that job twice because I didn't put any grease on them. And the guy took off and went up the interstate about 100 miles, and we got the phone call and had to pay for a tow truck to haul it all the way back and do it for free. So that wasn't a good day. I'll go ahead and get this other side done, and we'll bring you back for the next step.
The seals we used were National Oil Seals. Part number is 410101N.
What did you do that for? No. You're not putting that on my head. The next part to go on here is the inner felt retainer. Basically, this works kind of like this with the felt. This makes the whole assembly. That way, if any grease is to get out of the bearing that's going to live out there, it'll have to get around this, and then more than likely it'll go back into the bearing instead of trying to go out around all this stuff in the axle and go out this lip and leak out there. Sounds good in theory, but I know in reality I've got a lot of these that I bought where these things leak like a sieve. So I don't know if these really need to be, I think in the book they say they only them axle bearings need to be greased like 4 shots every 100 hours or something like that. So
500.
yeah, it's a ridiculously long amount, and I've known many a farmer that squirted as much as that thing could take every time he got off the tractor. So that's probably why it all leaks. But anyway, the book says to get a pipe and drive that on square. Well, pipes must have been a lot cheaper back then than they are today. I don't have a pipe that size, but I'll use a blunt chisel and a hammer and very delicately try to put that on the axle square. So I won't put you through the agony of watching me screw this up, so we'll bring it back once I get that onto the axle. The bearing that is for the outside axle, basically it'll go on the axle like that. But these bearings do not run in the gear oil for the rear end of the transmission. They are greased with axle grease. So Paul is packing this bearing before we install it on the axle to get it completely full. Note his technique of him getting all that nice caramely grease into all the crevices by shoving it in there. You got any comments there, grease man?
No.
No comments? Huh.
Oh, other people, they just rub it. Don't do that.
Rub it on the outside. That don't get it, does it?
No.
No.
You gotta pack it properly.
Yep. So probably in theory, you pack this bearing on this tractor. I don't know if you would really ever would have to shoot this thing full of grease with the little grease fittings that are on the side of the axle housing for that, because it'd be just like a wheel bearing in a car, and these axles turn so slow. There's hardly any wear as long as you keep the water out. Maybe if you was to somehow or another get a lot of moisture in there, you could put some grease in there, but maybe about 5 shots every, I don't know, 5 years would probably be plenty.
2 to 3 years.
So we can, that should be sufficient to, after he packs this bearing, we'll get it on that shaft and we will get these axles in this housing. I couldn't find a nice pipe that's the right diameter to get on this. It's a very, very thin race on this bearing here. So what I did, this is a brass chisel. So, and it's been dulled. It's been all rounded over. It's not sharp anymore. And I'm using that to tap on that race. It's not a super hard fit. It's not a real good press fit. So it taps down there pretty quick if you take the time to drive it square. That's the way I did it. Is it right? No, but it's how I did it. So, scary. Well, we got the bearing and the seal retainer on there. One thing, you can drive this seal retainer a little bit farther this way, and then when you put the bearing on, it'll butt up against the seal retainer and kind of push it back where it needs to be, because it needs to be flush with the end of the bearing. So that's something I should have added earlier. So kind of overdrive it a little bit, and then when you put the bearing on, you can put it in its proper position by when you put the bearing completely onto this shaft and up against the shoulder on the shaft, it'll be on the shoulder of this and be the proper depth. To aid in installing this axle, we have utilized our shop cart, and we've strapped the axle onto the cart since it's got wheels, and add a counterbalance of your choice here. So we could put that in there and hopefully not damage any of the races and the bearings or the seals. So we'll see what happens. So we're gonna have to back it up some. Okay. So I think this is the left.
The one that says the left on it.
Next thing we need to put in there is the inner bearing. It's lubricated with the transmission oil, so we can get it started into the into its race and into the shaft. Next to go in is the bowl gear. It's kind of a tight fit in here, because well, this is going to be a struggle. We'll have to bring you back whenever I get it a little closer. Okay, so we got the splines lined up on this. All right, Paul, push the axle home.
I think you need to go up a little bit.
Up. All right.
Keep going.
Okay. More?
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, you ain't no fucking way.
Okay. Got it.
All right. All right. Okay, it's in there. The next thing to go on is this nut. Okay, so I found where the cotter pin hole is in the shaft. It says to put this bar in here to keep everything from turning. Well, that's no surprise. Let me see that again. It's the joy of trying to do things on video. So anyway, that seems to be about tight. It says go to the next cancellation. We're just about there. The funny thing is you tear one of these apart, and this nut, it will not be tight at all. I guess, all the years of bearings wearing and stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna back that off one. That's just way too tight. That I like. What do you think, Paul? You can turn it out there with the axle. So I would say that you put it tight, and then I'll look at the book again, but I think you get it tight. Okay, after reviewing the book, it says using a 20-inch wrench. So I was like, figured, oh, that's a 2-inch wrench. No, 20 inches long. This one's like 22. They say to get this thing as tight as you can to the nearest cancellation to put a cotter pin. Well, I don't like as tight as I can get it with a 20, you know, to that next cancellation. It just doesn't feel right. It's too tight. So I'm whacking it off one. Maybe getting in here someday and tightening her up, but for right now, I'm saying we're gonna go with this. So use your best judgment. I've seen guys using, you know, getting measurements, you know, with an indicator on here. I never seen anything like that in the book. This is what it says in the book is how to do it. So, I mean, they're the guys that made this thing. So we're gonna put the one in the other side, and we'll bring you back when we get it installed.
We got the cotter pins in. We aligned the castle nuts to the correct spot where the cotter pin will line up. We bent those to where they won't fall out.
Roll them.
I'm going to be putting on the felt seal and the seal retainer. We just slide onto the axle. And
Here, buddy. Here. Here. There you go. Need to whack it right there. It's a lot higher, sticking out farther there. Times on the bottom. Just work your way around. There you go. All right, I think you got it in there good enough. Made all the difference, huh?
yes.
What did you do that for? No. I'm not putting that on my hand. Now whap it.